You're either with us or you're with the enemy. That's clear. I will continue to make that clear.
Wake up! What difference at this point does it make?
Just one of those days when you don't want to wake up.
Basically, taking over and the government running all of your companies.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
Wake up! Wake up!
We're scared. We're scared of an Obama presidency.
I have to tell you, he is a decent person and a person that you do not have to be scared as President of the United States.
I have 2 words for you. Predator drones. You will never see it coming.
Just one of those days when you don't want to wake up.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Either you're with us, either you love freedom and with nations which embrace freedom, or you're with the enemy.
Wake up! Wake up!
We also ask the school board to make a part of every day some kind of anti-violence, anti-gun message. Every day, every school, at every level. And we need to do this every day of the week and just brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
Just one of those days when you don't want to wake up.
And when they say, I want my lawyer, you tell them, shut up.
Your time
Don't
is
get a
expired.
lawyer. You're an enemy combatant.
Wake up!
We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities.
State of witness for entertainment purposes only. Any similarity between any living or dead supporting agencies do not endorse or condone the opinions and views expressed in this news talk show. Anyone taking the advice of the show and using it for real-life purposes does so at their own discretion. State of Wait is not responsible for the results that follow. We love our government overlords and support the continued oversight that the NSA and other agencies provide over our lives. We understand that freedom is not freedom unless we have the properly signed government permission slips that allow us to be free. Any statements that might be construed as being anti-government by any host on State of Wake should be considered within the context of good-natured ribbing and nothing more. This news talk show is covered by a BitCot no-gov license. You are free to use and reuse the content any way you see fit, so long as you are not an agent or advocate of government. For more information on the BitCot license, visit bitcot.org.
This is State of Wake's Newsfire, where we take your news and we set it on fire.
I do think that Mr. Trump needs to own up to the fact that the rhetoric he has used at some of his events have also contributed to the climate that you've seen in other parts of other rallies that he's had. There are consequences to the things people say in politics. There are, a president, for example, can't just speak their mind. There are real consequences. They can't just say whatever comes to mind. There are real consequences to the words that someone speaks, whether it's as a presidential candidate or ultimately as a president. I think we're seeing some of that over the last few days. I think tonight is about something a little bit different. This is certainly an organized effort. But we've reached a break point here where we have to kind of understand as a nation that either we can have a process by which we can debate policy differences in a civil way without this sort of thing happening, or we are careening towards the type of disruption that you see in other societies that has never been typical of the American political discourse, save a couple of tragic moments in our history.
Now, the responsibility for that lies with protesters who took violence into their own hands. But in any campaign, responsibility starts at the top. Any candidate is responsible for the culture of the campaign. And when you have a campaign that disrespects the voters, when you have a campaign that affirmatively encourages violence, when you have a campaign that is facing allegations of physical violence against members of the press, you create an environment that only encourages this sort of nasty discourse.
You've insulted all kinds of people, according to what people believe, by saying that Mexico is sending over rapists, that Muslims shouldn't be allowed in this country. There should be a moratorium for a while. Do you regret saying any of those things, especially the things that you have said about punching protesters, sending them out on stretchers?
No, I don't regret it at all. Some of these protesters were violent. They were swinging. They were hitting people. And they were really doing damage. And frankly, the crowd turned on them or the police turned on them. In most cases, it was the police. Generally speaking, it's very mild, but on occasion, and the occasions that you said, I saw very, very strong, very violent protesters hitting people, and yeah, I'm not happy about that, and I would always express my feelings about that. And
our reporters who follow
10
you,
years ago,
Mr. Trump, and who have been very fair with you, have said that they have not seen protesters attacking anyone. If anything, it is the other way around, that protesters are being attacked after they start to protest or to any way disagree with you. But they're not. Protesters are not the ones who resort to violence first. It is your supporters who are doing it.
It's not true when you say that statement, Don. You know it's not true. It's absolutely
I don't know it's not
false.
true. That's why I'm asking.
They'll stand up and they'll start swinging at people. It's not all cases. Very seldom. 10% of the cases. But we've had some very rough dudes.
State of Wake with Dimitri and Paul. What's your state of wake?
Yeah! That was some good stuff there. Had a little bit of across the digital network exchange between Mr. Marco Rubio, Mr. Ted, constitutionalist Cruz. I should add Mr. Marco, political opportunist. Ted, Bible and Bill of Rights Cruz. And Donald, I am feeding the hate, Trump. This is State of Wake featuring Dimitri and Paul. Sans Dimitri for this glorious episode. And I am amazed at the exchange that you just heard between Donald J. Trump, Ted Cruz, and Marco Rubio across the great national divide. On the one hand, you had Marco Rubio. Actually, Marco Rubio, compared to Ted Cruz, was a lot more tempered than Ted Cruz was. And we only played an excerpt from Rubio. In fairness to Rubio, his clip, he started off, he spent a pretty significant period of time calling to task what was going on with the protesters. Ted Cruz only gave a brief calling to task of the protesters. He spent the bulk of his statement concentrated on the evils of Mr. Donald J. Trump. And all of that is within the context of, there's a lot of articles, obviously, that have been written about this, but I think that this article, which is posted on MSNBC, really highlights how absurd all of this is and how badly played this has been, not just for Rubio, but even more for Ted Cruz. How Bernie supporters shut down a Donald Trump rally in Chicago. When Jamal Green, a prominent black activist and Bernie Sanders supporter in Chicago, saw that Donald Trump was coming to the University of Illinois Chicago, he knew what he had to do. He knew what he had to do. Everyone, get your tickets to this. We're all going in. Shut it down. Yeah, for our freedoms. We're going to shut it down. Little did he know they actually would shut it down. Friday night, hundreds of protesters invaded Trump's rally. Invaded and performed various acts of thuggery. I should add that. While thousands more marched outside, leading the candidate to abruptly, I don't know if there were thousands, maybe over 1,000, but I don't know about thousands, but I don't know. I don't have a body count on that. Leading the candidate to abruptly cancel the event due to safety concerns. The night spun out from there as angry Trump fans clashed with protesters who saw the shutdown as victory. Now listen to the language here. The night spun out from there as angry Trump fans clashed with protesters. Angry Trump fans. Fans, not supporters, fans, clashed with protesters. Nothing about the violence. Protesters interrupt virtually every Trump speech, but what made Chicago different were, I think they're supposed to say was there, but hey, what do I know? What made Chicago different should be was its scale, but they have were its scale. And the organization behind the effort, hundreds of young, largely black and brown people. So it's okay, because it's largely black and brown people, so you gotta give them a pass. And as the repeated chants of Bernie, Bernie demonstrated, it was largely organized by supporters of Bernie Sanders. Now, this MSNBC article, by the way, this is not like calling them to task. This seems to be like, dude, you guys did a good job. Remember, the Trump rally wasn't just luck. It took organizers from dozens of organizations and thousands of people to pull off. Great work, tweeted People for Bernie, a large unofficial pro-Sanders organization founded by veterans of the Occupy movement. So here you have, it's not quite, it's an armed insurgency in the sense that people have arms, like human arms, not like gun arms, but they have arms and they're swinging wildly at people. So it's I'm going to say it's an armed insurgency. I'm going to play the MSNBC game. I'm going to use twist of language in a way that puts it in the greatest possible negative light that I can conjure up. So let's call it an armed insurgency by a bunch of leftist terrorists who invaded an American political rally and celebrated the fact that they shut down a political rally. And what is Ted Cruz's response? You know, Donald Trump created this culture. I believe that the Occupy movement has existed long before Donald Trump. And if you look at our campuses today, and what goes on whenever you have anyone who is not of the leftist persuasion, you will find that that same thing happens to them. They shut them down. They just extended it now beyond the college campus to a political rally. Now, folks, anyone who listens to Stay Awake will realize that I am no Donald Trump fan. As a matter of fact, I am no politician's fan. As I like to say, there's no government like... Wait for it. No government. My purpose for talking about this in the first place is to highlight the absolute, mind-bogglingly stupid position that people are left in who are still clinging to the government as the savior, as the holder of the permission slip for liberty. You have on one side, well, there's not just two sides. There's multiple sides to this. And there's more sides than I will actually talk about here. But the sides that I'm going to focus on, I have Mr. Donald Trump. He represents a certain group of people who are ticked off and tired of losing all the time. And they just want to see all the dudes and dudettes who've been screwing them over get it in the face. However that happens by any means necessary. Then you have the Cruzbots. So, let's just use pejorative names because that's what we do nowadays. And Brett Vinay, you'll have to forgive me for using these pejorative phraseologies, but I'm at a point in my life where I'm totally ticked off by everyone. So you're all getting pejorative labels. Suck it up, buddy. If you're one of them special little snowflakes out there, well, I recommend that you go fetal and think of a happy place because you're going to need it. Or maybe not. I don't know. So you got the Trumpians, and the Trumpians, they just want blood. And then you got the Cruzbots. Pardon me. I coughed. I performed a radio sin just now. I coughed. I did it on purpose. I wanted to see how many people were listening, and I just got 1,500 text messages. They're all in my mind, but they're real to me that said, dude, why'd you cough on radio? That's inappropriate. So you got the Cruzbots. Now, the Cruzbots are different than the Trumpians. The Trumpians, they've left the fantasy world of the Bill of Rights. Every once in a while, they may, cite the Bill of Rights of the Constitution, but they're not talking about the Bill of Rights of the Constitution. They're talking about power. They're talking about force. They're talking about strength. They're actually closer to realizing the truth, I believe, than the Cruzbots are. The Cruzbots, they believe in their heart of hearts that if you just turn on the Bill of Rights, that somehow this invasion of their quote-unquote liberty will stop. So you have Ted Cruz here as a leader of the Cruzbots. As a matter of fact, they're called Cruzbots because, he's Ted Cruz. And then you have the Rubians. I don't know if anybody's ever called them Rubians, but I'm going to call them Rubians. The Rubians are kind of live and let live. We can compromise. We can negotiate a safe space for everyone. The progressives they're not horrible. They're just misguided. They're not our enemy. We're all on the same team. We just have some disagreements, which is what the Republican Party has been for the past decades, whatever it's been. They do not recognize the fundamental differences between people who are ostensibly conservative and people who are progressive. And I won't get in the weeds and talk about the reality of what the Republican Party is versus the face of the Republican Party, what it demonstrates through its words. What it demonstrates through its deeds is that it is, in fact, also progressive. But let's just focus on the outer showing. And this is what the Rubians are. And the Rubians, by and large, still believe that this is what the Republican Party can be. And they believe in being civil and being adult-like. And you can exchange the phrase, whenever you hear anybody saying adult-like, which, by the way, now the Cruzians are adopting that. So the Cruzians, the ones that have stuck with Ted Cruz, have walked back. The adult-like phrase could be interchanged with surrender monkey. So whenever anybody says, Marco Rubio is the adult in the room, Ted Cruz is the adult in the room, replace that phrase with Marco Rubio is the surrender monkey in the room. Ted Cruz is the surrender monkey in the room. Because that's what they are. They're surrender monkeys. They're surrendering to a thug army. Now, never mind that what they propose to build might be a thug army as well, but it'll be a kinder, gentler thug army. And if you love liberty, you probably won't be as much in the crosshairs of a Ted Cruz thug army as you will, say, a Marco Rubio thug army. But a Marco Rubio I can't even say his name and keep a straight face. Marco Rubio thug army might not put you in the crosshairs as much as, well, certainly won't put you in the crosshairs as much as a Hillary thug army or a Bernie thug army. You got a sense of what the Hillary and Bernie thug armies look like in Chicago. That is the nature of progressivism. Progressivism is ruthless, and it has no foundation whatsoever in any kind of limitations on the state. The Cruzbots, they envision a limitation for the state, which is more of a limitation than the Rubians do. And then there's the Trumpians, and I'm not going to lie to you. I think the Trumpians, I think that their view of the state is not really relevant. And there you hear the music. So that means that we are going to commercial break, and that is all we have to say about Trump. So let's go ahead and let's pay our bills. And we take you to the marketplace. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
Are you sick and tired of all that liberty? Does the freedom to collect rainwater and use it as you please seem like way too much liberty for you? Have you been burdened with the choice to buy a gun and carry a gun wherever you want? Did your child run a snow removal business in the neighborhood without getting a government license? And that type of freedom sickens you? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then we have a show for you not to listen to. State of Wait at stateofwait.com is not the show for people who are sick of the burden of freedom and liberty. If you actually love freedom and you're ready to face how much freedom you actually have under Daddy Gov, then State of Wake is the show for you. So, if you hate liberty, stay the bleep away from stateofwake.com. For everyone else, come in, the water's warm.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to BIPCOT.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
Here come the Gung-Ho Commandos, best equipped boys in the field. All the equipment you need for fun and excitement in the Gung-Ho Commando outfit by Marks. Just look at all the things you get. There's a battle map and direction-finding compass, a cap-shooting automatic with gun belt and holster, a helmet, a canteen, complete mess kit and poncho. You get a cat-firing Gung-Ho hand grenade. Gung-Ho! And look here, this flashing battery-powered machine gun with moving ammo belt shoots rapid-fire bullets. There's a real-looking walkie-talkie, too, and a field pack. You get non-com stripes, medals and battle ribbons, even dog tags. It's all for fun and excitement. Gung-Ho! Get the outfit with all the equipment you need. The Gung-Ho Commando outfit. Gung-Ho! By Marks.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Hi everyone, this is Shane, the host of Liberty Under Attack Radio on the Freedom Phalanx Radio Network. If you follow LUA, you know that we put out a lot of content, the biggest compilation being my Adventures in Illinois Law series. In this series, I witnessed tyranny firsthand, and it was one of the major reasons I jumped off the minarchist ship and came to true freedom, which is voluntarism. This series is now available in anthology and audiobook format at libertyunderattack.com. Again, that is libertyunderattack.com. Make sure to tune in live every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on fprnradio.com.
Stay awake with Dimitri and Paul. What's your state of wake?
Rated by top of the world!
Finally got to the top of the world. That blew right up in his face.
Welcome to Top of the World. And this would be the part of the show probably where Dimitri would have the most to say. But Dimitri's not here. It is me flying solo. And in this solo shot, I am focusing on this story. Iran rejects Russia-Saudi oil freeze proposal. This is this is from Radio Free Europe. Iran has said it has no plans to freeze its oil production in a blow to a deal reached last month between Russia and Saudi Arabia to curb falling global oil prices. Iranian oil minister Bijan Namder Zangana told Iran's Press TV on March 13th that other oil-producing countries should leave us alone. Zangana added Tehran would only consider a freeze after it increased production to 4 million barrels a day, the level it saw before international sanctions were imposed due to concerns about its nuclear program. Well, duh! All these other dudes have been cashing in on their oil, and Iran suddenly can bring its oil to the market, and you're going to say to Iran, hey, dude, Yeah, we're good here. Could you just kind of not make as much money as you possibly could right now, because you're hurting our ability to make money. Which is this really throws an interesting monkey wrench, and I wish Dimitri were here. I'd love to hear his take on this, but he's not. So because he's not, I'm gonna have to represent Dimitri right now. I am going to represent Dimitri's view. And this is Dimitri's view. Dimitri, if you're listening to this show from wherever you are, I think he's doing a scouting report on us, on some up-and-coming politicians who may, in fact, be less evil than other up-and-coming politicians, but I'm not too sure about that. At any rate, Dimitri's view is this. This is now Dimitri's view, because I own his view now, because that's what you do in a statist world. He would say that this throws a monkey wrench in. Well, it is very possible that what we're looking at here is something that may be for show, or it may be a legitimate wrinkle. Because what's happening in the Middle East is you have these different alliances that are forming, and Saudi Arabia is on the outside looking in, along with Turkey, on the new power alliance in the Middle East, which is the axis of evil from an American perspective, because, you know, if it's against America, it's evil. I mean, duh! The axis of evil is probably, it's Russia, it's Iran, it's Bashar Assad in Syria, so whatever he has left of Syria. It's not Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has picked a loser in Turkey, and now Saudi Arabia has a vested interest in a Syria without Assad. It has to do with oil pipelines running through Syria, through Turkey, into Europe. But I won't get into all that. Dimitri knows a lot more about that stuff than I do. But this is an interesting wrinkle, because both Russia and Saudi Arabia can share an alliance of sorts in terms of being hurt by the lower oil prices. Saudi Arabia even more so than Russia, because Saudi Arabia has essentially been subsidizing people to not turn against an insane regime that was created by the British and perpetuated by the Americans. The House of Saud was the weakest, stupidest tribe in the Arabian Peninsula, but they were the ones when the British arrived and said, dude, we want to like totally bilk you and take your oil and like take most of the profits for ourselves. All the other tribes were like, boys, you crazy? Ain't you crazy? But the House of Saud was like, okay, sure, whatever you want. You ought to look up Ibn al-Saud and find out what a lovely dude that guy was. He had an army of doctors that were on call to help make sure that he could continue to engage in his fornicating ways. Because he liked the fornicating. It was pretty awesome for him, and he wanted to make sure that he could perpetuate that fornication. At any rate, this puts in a very interesting wrinkle. What will develop for the Russians? I'm thinking that this is more show than anything else. And there you go. That's our top story. And that music means that we are going to feed our greedy capitalist interests. So help us and support the people in these commercials or liberty.
I like eggs.
Welcome to Gut Burgers, home of the Gut Burger. Can I take your order? Yeah, I'd like to buy a burger. What would you like with that burger? Just a small Coke and fries, but only fries? Don't you want cheese nuggets with the Gut Burgers? Well, I don't really want cheese nuggets with my Gut Burger, no. Do you hate people? What? Do you hate people? You heard me. Do you hate people? No. Then why won't you order the cheese nuggets? Well, I'm not hungry for cheese nuggets. Do you know how many people have jobs because of cheese nuggets? No. Well, we don't either, but I'm sure it's a lot. And if you don't buy cheese nuggets, some of those people, if not all of them, will lose their jobs. They won't be able to get Christmas gifts for their kids this year. They'll probably end up homeless and die, overdosed on drugs because you wouldn't buy cheese nuggets. Does that make you feel good, hater? If they lose their jobs, couldn't they just find a new job? Well, that is besides the point. Hater. Now, if you really want a burger, you're going to have to buy cheese nuggets too. Well, maybe I'll just go somewhere else where I can buy a burger without the cheese nuggets. Oh, no, you don't. What? Now you hate your country too? No, I don't see how. Well, if you don't like this country, you can just leave. Well, okay. No, not so fast. Doesn't work like that. You just said I could leave. I was being rhetorical. You have to stay. I choose not to stay. Oh, you'll stay. Or do you hate the burger police too? There's a burger police? Yeah. You got a problem with that? We want to have to put you on the no burger list. You don't want to be on the no burger list, would you? Look, okay, this isn't worth the hassle. And I'm hungry. I'll take the cheese nuggets. Great. That'd be $245 for a burger? One burger? Do you hate the poor? I don't particularly. Then what is your problem paying $245 for your burger? People are starving. For every burger you buy, 3 more get burgers. 3 more poor people? Oh, don't be unrealistic. I get a burger for having to wait on your complaining terroristic ass. And of course, Daddy Gov gets his burger for having to allow you to come into the store that he pays for. Listen, I put up with the freaking cheese nuggets, but this is over the top. I'm just going to go. Oh, you're not going anywhere. You will buy this burger, and you will like it. I don't want to see you blog about it or tweet your negative experiences. And definitely don't want to see your whiny posts on Facebook. Just give us the $245 and take your burger like a good patriot. You do love freedom, don't you? Freedom? Yeah, freedom. Now give us your money or else. I don't really have a choice now, do I? Well, thank you for doing business with us. Here you go. 1 freedom burger. Wait, this burger's got a bite out of it, and it smells like feet. We're sorry, sir. You can vote for a new Gov Burger manager next year if you don't like the current one. I don't want to vote. I want to eat a burger that doesn't smell like feet. Well, if you won't vote, you can't complain. And the moral of this story: without government, who will make our freedom burgers?
Are you sick and tired of all that liberty? Does the freedom to collect rainwater and use it as you please seem like way too much liberty for you? Have you been burdened with the choice to buy a gun and carry a gun wherever you want? Did your child run a snow removal business in the neighborhood without getting a government license? And that type of freedom sickens you? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then we have a show for you not to listen to. State of Wake at stateofwake.com is not the show for people who are sick of the burden of freedom and liberty. If you actually love freedom and you're ready to face how much freedom you actually have under Daddy Gov, then State of Wake is the show for you. So, if you hate liberty, stay the bleep away from stateofwake.com. For everyone else, come in, the water's warm.
State of Wake with Dimitri and Paul. What's your state of wake?
State of Wake is for entertainment purposes only. Any similarity between any living human beings, living or dead, is purely coincidental. State of Wake and its supporting agencies do not endorse or condone the opinions and views expressed in this news talk show. Anyone taking the advice of the show and using it for real-life purposes does so at their own discretion. State of Wake is not responsible for the results that follow. We love our government overlords and support the continued oversight that the NSA and other agencies provide over our lives. We understand that freedom is not freedom unless we have the properly signed government permission slips that allow us to be free. Any statements that might be construed as being anti-government by any host on State of Wake should be considered within the context of good-natured ribbing and nothing more. This news talk show is covered by a BipCot no-gov license. You are free to use and reuse the content any way you see fit, so long as you are not an agent or advocate of government. For more information on the BipCot license, visit bipcot.org.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious
Yeah.
things to eat.
It's in the
popcorn
lobby.
can't be beat.
Welcome to the lobby.
Dandy, the chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the
chocolate bars.
lobby
That
to
sounds
get
good.
ourselves a treat.
So we're here.
Let's all go
We're
to
in the lobby. Welcome to the lobby. State of
to
Wasteland.
get ourselves a treat.
What we'll be doing in the lobby is, this is where we'll have interviews with folks from time to time. And this is also when we don't have interviews, we are going to look at the weird side of the news. And we're going to get right into it with Oregon man accused of selling stolen Legos under arrest. This is from Fox News. Portland police say they arrested a man who agreed to sell stolen Legos to undercover investigators. Listen, man, they were like really bored that day, and they're like, dude, we're trying to like get people to, want to bomb people and buy bomb stuff, but nobody's biting. What are we gonna do? Dude, did you realize that some people are selling hot Legos? Hot Legos? Dude, let's get on this. Let's break the Lego conspiracy. The war on Legos. This is why the Department of Homeland Security exists. I'm not going to say anything more about that. I'm going to move on to the next story. And this is from ABC News. And this is defense lawyer, investigator, brawl in California courthouse. An Orange County defense attorney suffered a bloodied face and fractured nose after a brawl with a brawl. A brawl. I didn't say brawl. I said brawl. BRAWL. With a district attorney's investigator in a courthouse hallway, his lawyer said. James Crawford was speaking with a witness in the courthouse Wednesday morning when the investigator asked him who he was and called defense lawyers sleazy. He called him sleazy. Oh, no. And then they got insulted, and then they traded insults, and then the investigator threw a metal document clip. Oh, my gosh, he threw a metal document clip at Crawford, which he threw back. And the Orange County District Attorney's Office declined comment. Could you tell us why did your paid government representative start hurling on a member of the defense team? He's stupid? Government stupid? I mean, no, government's not stupid. He's not stupid. People are fundamentally evil. They want to destroy you. Without laws, people will kill you dead. Who runs government? This district attorney is one of the people that runs government. But that's cool. How about this one? Maryland frat party may lead to more than $275,000 in crimes. This is from WNCN.com, North Carolina News. WNCN.com. 2 American university students are headed to court following an off-campus fraternity party that could see one of them fined for more than $250,000. CBS affiliate WSA reports. The January 15 party in Bethesda ended with police issuing alcohol citations to more than 100 underage drinkers. Now, mind you, these underage drinkers, these are between the ages of 18 and 20. And remember that the underage drinkers, these are college kids. They can technically be drafted. You have to, if they're men. If they're women, they have special rights and privileges. But if they're men, they could technically be drafted. If they ever implement the draft, you got to register with Selective Service. You can be called upon to give your life for your country. But, dude, having a drink, nah, man. So they probably put a lot of effort into getting this sting in place and making sure that these people who were drinking before they turn to that magical. There is a magic button on your back, and as soon as you turn 21, it turns green, and it allows you to be, friendly with alcohol in a state sponsored, state acceptable way. And if you're, I've talked before about how I run a newspaper, and I have actually covered stories, and it's ironical, and I covered the story probably more to show the ironicalness of it. Ironical is a real word. Ironicalness, rather, is a real word. Look it up. If you don't find it in the dictionary, it's because the state took it out. That's what they do. Anyway, this person was arrested, charged with underage drinking, and they were 20 years old, and they were going to turn 21 2 months before that drink. The total absurdity of the drinking age is highlighted and illustrated in a most glorious fashion. And let's get to, oh yes, here's a Canadian college. Now, I didn't check this. I hope that this is a government-sponsored college, because if it's not, it kind of, I coughed again. I apologize for coughing on air. My government overlords are whispering into my ear, it's okay, keep coughing on air. If you cough on air, people won't listen to your show. You are a token resistance voice. Everybody else, remain calm. He is a token resistance voice, and we wish for him to cough on air. That way he is a feckless token resistance voice. And you know what, man? That's not true. I am not a feckless resistance voice because I am not a member of the GOP. At any rate. This is from UPI. A college in Canada issued an apology after accidentally releasing the test results of more than 1,400 health students via email. Algonquin College in Ottawa sent the results of 1,411 prospective students' ACHPAT entry exams. I have no idea what that is. To 40 other students. To 40 other students. So 40 students saw the results of 1,400 students. The results were sent in a spreadsheet, including other information such as names, email addresses, student numbers, and program choices, but could not be used to impersonate the students included. What the heck does that mean? But could not be used to impersonate the students included. They added that affected students were contacted along with the 40 recipients who were all shot and killed. No, they weren't. They were just deleted. I mean, no, they weren't deleted. Who were instructed to delete the email. These were not opposing Hillary Clinton, so they weren't deleted. We're very sorry this happened. Obviously not our intent to do this. We're going to make it right by ensuring it doesn't happen again and getting to the bottom of why it happened. Algonquin College spokesman Phil Goodrow told the CBC. That's Canadian Broadcasting Center for all of you American trolls. Are you an American troll? Vice President of Student Services Laura Stanber released a statement about the incident, apologizing to the affected parties. We regret this error and sincerely apologize to all affected, she said. We are taking steps to ensure that this does not happen again. So what you have here, and you know, okay, if this is a private college, I don't care. Don't mess with my narrative. I'm going to say it's a public government-supported college. It certainly has to play by the rules of government. So let's just say it's a government-supported college. If it's not a government-supported college, don't tell me about it. Don't write me. You can email me, by the way. That's paul@stateofwake.com. And you can wait for my response if you're going to send me an email that says, you're a public college. You know, the idea here is that if you want to create a centralized database in which centralized authority controls the data, the chances that that centralized database will remain private is, well, it's next to nil, and this illustrates that point beautifully. So of all these stories that we have covered, we covered the Maryland frat party, we covered the Canadian college, we covered the defense lawyer, and we covered the Oregon man. I want to come back to Oregon man. This is the Leggo story. This is, for me, the number one story. That's why I started off with it. But when we do these, we won't always start off with the number one story. In this case, I did start off with what I think is the number one story to illustrate the awesomeness of the state. Without the state, who will protect us from Leggo terrorism? And we're still reading from Fox News here, which was awesome. I mean, I actually want to read some comments here in the Fox News site. This is from somebody called "Why Bother with Liberals?" and he's got a little thing that says "Liberals suck." He should have been stealing Clearasil. Skater Boy says, Skater Boy just says, "Wow, screw you." Oh man, there's not a lot of quotes here. How are there not a lot of statements on this? Bug Eater 1947 said he will now be the quote-unquote toy in prison. Because, man, when you go to prison and you confess and you say, "Hey, dude, what are you in here for?" "Man, I stole Legos." "You did what?" "Oh, you did what?" "Oh, no, you didn't." "You know, I murdered 3 people, but you stole Legos?" Dude, that is so wrong. It is so wrong that you stole. And don't get me wrong, folks. I am not in any way, shape, or form advocating for stealing anything. If you steal stuff from someone else, that is a violation of the NAP. In a voluntarist world universe, doesn't make any sense when I say that, but yet it sounds great, so I'm going to say it. In a voluntarist world universe, Pavel Kuzik, he'd be in trouble. Now I'm going to read you the rest of the story. Portland police say they arrested a man who agreed to sell stolen Legos to undercover investigators. I don't know what it means. How did they find? How did the undercover investigators discover that there was somebody that was trying to sell illegal Legos? Officers say 25-year-old Pavel Kuzik was arrested in a stolen car last week. Okay. He was booked. He was, this is what it says. Okay, this is Fox News, and I'm going to read this sentence. I'm going to read this sentence from the professionals at Fox News. It was booked him into jail on multiple warrants. And that's it. That was the lobby. And now, folks, we have to pay our bills and feed the greedy capitalists from within. Support our sponsors. Our liberty dies.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to BIPCOT.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
Tired of those old Freedom Fiends buttons? Well, the Freedom Fiends have new button designs.
As always, it's only $10 for 10 buttons, and you'll get these nifty designs. By sheep, for sheep, on sheep.
State speech is hate speech.
2 designs for Guns and Weed, the road to freedom.
3 designs for Fiend Phone.
BIPCOT No Gov.
A Freedom Fiends Worms button.
And ask me about my worms.
Go to freedomfiends.com and click on the link at the top that says Buttons.
And now they're bigger buttons.
They used to be 1 1/4 inch, and now they're 1 3/4 inch. Dan, they're bigger buttons.
What does freedom mean? Tune in to LRN.FM to find out. LRN.FM is the Liberty Radio Network, a collection of live talk radio and podcasts, all coming from a principled pro-liberty perspective. LRN.FM show hosts aren't left, right, or conspiracy kooks. You can tune in 24/7 to LRN.FM via your phone, computer, satellite, and more. Listen free anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
This is Niz from Disassociation Nation. As many of you know, I'm an avid vapor. And if you're like me, you're tired of being charged ridiculous amounts of cash for a disappointing experience when flavors just don't deliver. I'd like to take a moment to introduce you to Vapor Renew, a Flavor West company. If you're into mixing and creating your own custom e-liquids, Flavor West has everything you need to make delicious, satisfying flavors. Doesn't matter if you're a flavor chaser or if you love the look and feel of those big, beautiful, puffy plumes. FlavorWest.com can provide you with everything you need. Let's face it, if you vape, e-liquid is an ongoing expense. And if you're a dripper like me, then you know that blowing through a $30 bottle of juice isn't unheard of. Why pay more than you have to? So for excellent quality juice made right here in the United States, head over to VaporRenew.com, where they have hundreds of flavors pre-mixed and ready to vape at the most reasonable prices you'll find. Use coupon code RENU for an extra 10% off your entire order. Great juice at a great price and 10% off. Support companies that support liberty by making your next purchase at Vapor Renew. Or for mixing supplies, don't forget FlavorWest.com.
This was how your day started. Started wrong.
Barbara! Barbara, get up. You'll be late for school.
Does she have to do this every morning, Barbara? Even if you're not really well-mannered, you could make a habit of being civil. Helen has trained herself to know what she's going to do, and she's able to match the right skirt with the right sweater. As usual, all your neighbors knew how late it was when you went by at your regular dog trot. Helen has a habit plan, and it includes a healthy breakfast and a pleasant word with her parents. And you're almost always late, and you're guilty about it. You're in a rut with a bad habit, distaste for your sloppy ways. You were embarrassed by your messy hair and the fingernails you had neglected to clean. You weren't listening.
But we always go to the beach. Every year we take a cottage at S.
You couldn't help interrupting, could you? You added nothing to that conversation. It's a little late for tears, isn't it, Barbara? Even though you didn't know it was going to happen today, you've still had your whole life to prepare for it. And now it's a little late, isn't it?
Stay awake with Dimitri and Paul. What's your state of wake?
It's first in the flank. Get it started. It's fighting and it's fighting. Well, this is one of the worst catastrophes in the world. It's a terrific crash, ladies and gentlemen. The smoke and the flames down all the humanity.
Welcome to Oh the Humanity. This is the part of the show where we try to combat the Oh the Humanity voices of doom and gloom that assign godlike powers to enemies of liberty. So for this segment, for the inaugural Oh the Humanity segment, we're going to look at what Obama said about encryption and tech's double-edged sword at South by Southwest conference. This is by TechCrunch. And I'm hoping that what you can see here is that the state is just a little bit nervous about what's happening with our technology. Okay, I can't do a really good Barack Obama voice, so this is my very poor, crude failure of an attempt at sounding like Barack Obama. Technology can empower individuals to do things that they have never dreamed of before, but also empower folks who are very dangerous to spread dangerous messages. Obama took to the stage at South by Southwest to discuss how technology could be used to enhance civic engagement. But the end of his talk ended up, it says, but the end of his talked, TechCrunch, come on, man. But the end of his talked, it should be the end of his talk, but that's cool. You know, I write a lot, so I understand typos get in. Ended up focusing on the balance between privacy and security surrounding encryption and the Apple FBI case. He noted that the government shouldn't be able to get into people's phones willy-nilly, but that there will need to be constraints imposed on privacy to keep people safe. He fully understands that encryption is leading the day, that it is becoming increasingly more difficult for the state to crack those privacy encryption codes. This is why when the all-powerful state comes to you and says, "We can't get in this iPhone," it kind of keeps it in perspective as far as the doom and gloomer and, the humanity people are concerned. So Obama opened his talk by outlining 3 ways that tech can improve our country. We can make government work better through technology. Oh my gosh, if it worked any better than it already has, I would have no liberty left. I'm glad government doesn't work well, because if government did work well, I would probably wake up and be an automaton in control of the government. Or, no, not in control by the government, not of the government. Come on. And I kid. That's why we have 2 disclaimers for our show. We play it twice. We have 2 disclaimers. We kid. We love our NSA overlord masters. So Obama discussed how the government has used tech to cut the time it takes to apply for, I don't really care about that, and tackle big problems in new ways, he says. Oh, whatever. And make sure we're using big data analytics and technology to make civic partner participation easier. So we want the people to be able to participate in the government more easier. That way, when we, manipulate the masses to believe and act in a certain way, the masses will have the ability to enforce that manipulated view on the rest of the people who are still awake. Hence the title of our show, State of Wake. What state of wake are you? If you are wide awake, then you understand the caca-poo-poo that is coming out of this man's mouth. The reason I'm here is to recruit you all. The most important office in a democracy is the office of citizens. No, it's not. The most important office is the office of regulator. Because regulators, they are totally unaccountable and voiceless. Well, not voiceless. They have a big, big voice, but they are faceless and nameless. And they can do whatever they want. All they got to do is change the regulations. You don't have to do it full time. You don't have to run for office yourself, but whatever your field is, there's a way for you to engage and participate in this democracy, to take this democracy back. To take this democracy back in ways we haven't seen in a very long time. Now, he's near the end of his revolutionary hope and change presidency. And at the end of his revolutionary hope and change presidency, he is informing us that after almost 8 years of his hope and change presidency, that we still need to take our democracy back in ways we haven't seen in a very long time. And when I use the we, I am being rhetorical there. I do not count myself in the we, as many of our listeners don't either. So there you have it. What you see here is a demonstration of government going to the tech people, who they know is eventually going to kick their butts and saying, "Please don't hurt us." And that is the first half of this show, although for this show, it's the only part of this show. Thereafter, what you're going to hear is the post-debate, the post-show, which would follow. But for now, we'll see you next week when we do the full version of this show. This is Paul Gordon saying, good night.
You're either with us or you're with the enemy. That's clear. I will continue to make that clear.
Wake up! What difference at this point does it make? Just one of those days when you don't want to wake up.
Basically, taking over and the government running all of your companies.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
we're scared. We're scared of an Obama presidency.
I have to tell you, he is a decent person and a person that you do not have to be scared as President of the United States.
I have 2 words for you. Predator drones. You will never see it coming.